I think we can all agree that When I Hit You, or A Portrait of a Writer as a Young Wife, is a fantastic title for a novel. You know the trigger warnings, you know what you're getting yourself into, you know from the title if that's the sort of book for you. It promises to be bleak, grim, and powerful. It is a fantastic title that asks one question: does the text deliver upon what is promised? I promise to answer that question by the end of this video, but only if you've hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. It magically unlocks more content. Meena Kandasamy is an Indian poet and author from Chennai in the Tamil Nadu region of India. She is an activist working closely with the issues of caste and gender. She is quoted as saying, "The threat of violence shouldn't dictate what you are going to write or hinder you in any manner." What a tough woman, just cavalierly brushing off death threats in such a manner. When I Hit You was published in 2017 and was shortlisted for the Women's Prize in 2018, losing out to Camilla Shamsi's fantastic novel Home Fire. Arundhati Roy, who is referenced in this novel, also made the long list. What a good year for books from South Central Asia. Our unnamed narrator is a young writer who falls in love with a professor. He seduces her with his radical left-wing politics, his poetry, and she soon leaves her parents' house and marries him, moving to a part of the country where she doesn't speak the same language as anybody. And she is soon to learn that what she thinks of as a contract of love, he thinks of as a contract of ownership. This man slowly begins training her, dehumanizing her. He doesn't want her to be attractive to other men. He confiscates her phone, limits her internet, sabotages her writing career, takes over her emails, and starts hitting her. It is a slow and a brutal process, but it is nothing new. There are plenty of novels like this. What Kandasamy does is provide the internal thoughts of the victim. Why doesn't she leave? How is she trapped? Why is she forgiving him? She's providing you this with such clarity, such profound depth of understanding. It's frightening. We know early in this book that our protagonist is only married for 4 months, and coincidentally, Meena Kandasamy was briefly married for 4 months in 2011, and she shares a lot in common with the protagonist. The novel is very much based on Kandasamy's life. The title of the novel is even a reference to a famous work of autofiction. But Kandasamy has intentionally made the narrator of her novel nameless, and by doing so, she has ensured that this isn't a personal story. It's not a once-off. It's not an aberration. It's not unusual. What she is doing is she is representing all the women who are victims of domestic violence. Kandasamy is really talented at showing us that her protagonist is tough, she's smart, she's educated, she has a career. She isn't the type of woman you think would end up in this situation. Yet here she is being hit. It's really kind of horrible that we need this narrative. There is nothing our protagonist could have done differently. She couldn't have avoided it. Her actions would not have changed the outcome. It is in many ways a victim-blaming narrative. But really, the truth is that we need this narrative. We need to know that if we were in the same situation, we couldn't avoid being hit. We couldn't avoid the abuse ourselves. There is nothing that we could have said or done to change things. We need to know there isn't a way out, and we need to know this so that we can empathize. The husband in this situation is a radical communist, one who is convinced the state is watching him, one who has fought in a war, who has killed a man, no, 3 men. He is consistently educating his wife on the topic of communism and telling her how her feminism doesn't fit into it, how her feminism is selfish. She is obviously smart enough to spot the contradictions, to know when he's lying, to know that he's not even telling her about communism, that this is dogma he is using to control her. Really, it's arbitrary. And yet, she doesn't leave him. She knows she can't ask for help. He is monitoring her emails. She doesn't have a phone. The police won't assist her. He has been poisoning his friends against her. And her parents cancel her, but only by encouraging her to try harder, telling her that it would all change when she has a baby. But she is scared a baby will trap her, and she resorts to changing her cooking and including herbs and spices that make it harder for the baby to stick. Her writing career must fit around the housework. The washing needs to be done. The cooking needs to be done. His shirts need to be ironed. Her writing deadline must come second. Not that it matters anyway. She doesn't have access to the internet without his approval. It's hard for her to even submit her work. And this book is full of gaslighting and double standards. One of my favorite examples is when she starts to write about being hit and he tells her not to put it into words, that later on she would regret having a permanent record to look back on, that it would look far worse than it really was. She said she needed to write it down as part of her healing process, but he forbids it. But later on, he writes about the violence and says he wants it in writing, so he has a constant reminder of what he has done. Not only is the hypocritical nature of their relationship on display, but there is the threat of violence when she wants to write, and the false promise of change when he does. Threat and lies. Fear and fake promises. I said at the beginning that the trigger warnings should be obvious. And I want to add that they do include marital rape. It is a particularly dark part of a very dark book. The trauma our protagonist is having inflicted upon her. At one point, she is honestly contemplating if her vaginas and ovaries will fall out while she is on the toilet. Can I remind you that this is a journalist, this is a published author, this is a woman who is educated, who knows that that is a ridiculous thought. This book really does push your limit. It forces you to empathize. It is raw and it is brutal, honest, important, impactful, feminist, socialist, and moving. This is a book that delivers on its excellent title. You get exactly what you're expecting, and this book can only be a 5-star book. If you're looking for a book with similar themes, I recommend clicking here to see where I discuss If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English. Bye bye.